Bernheim is in the middle of our end of the year campaign for the planet for you. We have a $50,000 fundraising goal for that campaign. And as you also may know, COVID has hit a lot of nonprofits really hard in 2020. So this campaign is of great importance to Bernheim. We've raised $40,500 toward that fundraising goal so far. So we are very thankful and appreciative to those who've contributed. So thank you to all of you who have already done so. In addition to fundraising, For the Planet for You is also about demonstrating what Bernheim is doing for the planet and for you. So we've decided to have this calendar series to really draw those connections for you a little bit more so you can really see all of the many ways Bernheim is working both to protect the planet, but also to help educate you all so you can help us in that fight as well. So today's presentation will be by Bernheim's new Director of Education, Kristin Faurest, and her team. And as you know, Bernheim has a long history of and a great reputation of delivering excellent quality programming, and we have for many years. The nature-based education department has a wonderful team. So I think you'll hear from a few of those in addition to Kristin today too. And I might add that they are literally an award-winning team. So you have great folks that you'll be hearing from today. And they are, you know, in a lot of ways, the heart and soul of Bernheim, because they are out there really delivering our mission every day, which is connecting people with nature. So thanks to Kristin and her team, and I'll turn it over to them.
Thank you, Cadell. Hi, everyone. So if Amy could start sharing the presentation screen. Thank you. Okay, so thank you everyone for coming today during your lunch hour, and I'm really honored and happy to be here. I'm a very new addition to Bernheim, so I have the honor of being a newcomer to a very long and wonderful tradition of providing educational content that connects people with nature. Next slide, please. So that's me, Kristin. I joined the team in June, and our education department offers, next slide, please, sorry, next. Our education department offers immersive hands-on educational experiences for people of all ages focused on building a personal connection with nature and the environment, and becoming the next stewards of the land. So we work on developing a wide variety of educational nature walks, demonstrations, curriculum, activities for people of all ages from early childhood up through adulthood. We work on building partnerships with a diverse range of schools and community organizations and other institutions in the area to help promote our nature-based message. And we also work to develop a robust volunteer naturalist program. Next slide, please. So I'd like to introduce you to the team, because these are the people who really make it happen, the people who were here long before I showed up back in June. First, I'd like to introduce you to somebody who needs no introduction, but is going to get one anyway. Ren Smith, she's our interpretive programs manager for 20 years now. Ren is a nationally recognized leader in the field of nature interpretation and is a certified interpretive trainer for the National Association of Interpretation. Ren has over 30 years of professional experience and has received both regional and national awards, including Outstanding Frontline Interpreter and National Association of Interpretation Shining Star. Due to her passion and expertise in connecting people to nature and training others, she was awarded Kentucky Naturalist of the Year by the Natural History Society, and she's published many, many articles in Legacy magazine, 3 of which got awards for Outstanding Feature Article. She initiated 17 years ago Bernheim's Vibrant Volunteer Naturalist Training Program. You'll hear more about that soon. Next, please. So Dan. Mr. Dan joined our education team 4 years ago as Youth and Family Program Manager, and he provides award-winning programming for families and youth who come to Bernheim to connect with nature. His philosophy is that if you build a community of people with children starting from early childhood, their parents will also be on board and their brothers and sisters, and you build a whole community of families with this common thread of being connected to Bernheim and to nature. Prior to joining us, he was education director for the Kanai Watershed Forum, which is an environmental nonprofit in Alaska's Kanai Peninsula, where he taught school groups the importance of healthy watersheds and salmon populations for 13 years. He also worked at residential outdoor schools in California and brings to us a depth and width of knowledge in working with youth in nature. He is very famous for combining elements of music, puppetry, and drama with sound principles of science. And he's created programming that inspires the exploration of our deep connections with nature while also having a really good time. He's presented at national conferences ranging from the American Fisheries Society, the National Association for Interpretation, the River Network, the Association of Outdoor and Environmental Educators, and many others. He was awarded the 2013 Award for Excellence in Environmental Education from the Alaska Conservation Foundation, as well as being honored as a kingmaker by the Great Land Trust in South Central Alaska. I still don't entirely understand what that means, but he has a sign that says that over his desk, so he never lets us forget it. He currently also serves on the board for the Kentucky Association of Environmental Education. Next. Olivia started with us 3 years ago as a part-time intern and recently became a full-time education team member. She keeps a focus on Bernheim's younger audiences and spends most of her time leading our visiting school and youth groups on adventures through the forest. She loves nothing more than digging through the dirt with an excited band of explorers, and when not in the field, she provides quick turnaround for us on projects, write-ups, and other work is needed. She helps us create and refine our programming and acts as support to the rest of the education team. In 2019, Olivia was awarded the Outstanding Interpreter Invitation from the National Association for Interpretation, Sunny Southeast Region. Prior to starting here at Bernheim, she worked for 2 years at Great Parks of Hamilton County, Ohio as an educator, where she designed and led a variety of programming for children ages 3 to 14. She graduated with a bachelor's degree in environmental biology from the University of Dayton 5 years ago. She's also going to be in charge of our junior naturalist program and our Camp Bernheim, which are 2 major new programs we have coming this summer and fall. Next. This is me. And I always like to keep this photo front and center because it reminds me of some of my favorite life lessons, which is to be audacious, stay humble, and smile even when you know you're seriously beat. So I learned some time ago that I can't haul firewood like the Maasai tribeswomen can, but I can give it my level best. So I grew up in Louisville. I started out as a reporter at the Courier Journal. I joined the Peace Corps, where I went to Hungary. I lived in Budapest for about 20 years before moving to Portland 4 years ago to work for Portland Japanese Garden as their education director. And I joined Bernheim in June. Couldn't be happier to be here. Next slide, please. So just to talk a little bit about our volunteer naturalist program. I think anybody who's come to Bernheim is familiar with our volunteer naturalists, but maybe you don't know exactly just how built out and in-depth the program this is. So I'd like to talk about that for a little bit. Ren, who I already introduced, started our volunteer naturalist program in 2002. And since then, she's put over 250 volunteers through this unique intensive training program aimed at developing ecological learners and leaders. We found that many of our volunteer naturalists, thanks to the robustness and deep nature of this program, stay on for many years, continue to take classes, and ultimately come back to lead them. As they continue to grow and hone their interpretive naturalist skills, these generous people are wonderful mentors for new people who come into our program each year and for the families and youth groups that they work with. This program provides at the very least 130 hours of training classes for volunteer naturalists each year at Bernheim. Ren, would you like to say a few words about this yourself? Is she on? Is Ren on? Well, okay, we'll come back to Ren later. So 6 of these training courses have 3-hour introductory field classes, 27 2-hour classes with integrated training opportunities, 15 hours for Bernheim-specific interpretive training classes, and a 32-hour National Association for Interpretation Certified Interpretive Guide training is offered each year. So it's a really incredible curriculum. Ah, there she is. Okay, Ren, yes. Speak up. Say a few words.
Had trouble muting or unmuting. One of the things I noticed, and it does my heart good, there are at least 10 of our volunteer naturalists at this meeting. So it's good to see your all's faces. They've been showing up at our Zoom trainings, which we have every Saturday morning. And so that has also heartened me. But, you know, some of them might be able to answer questions if people have it at the end. But one of the things that I love about this group is that they're kind of committed to that mentoring within the group. So they're kind, they're generous, and they're talented. So you'll get to see some of their work here in a bit, I think. So glad to see you guys. Thanks for showing up.
Thank you, Ren. That is, in fact, coming up next. So when coronavirus first hit us and we had to shut down a lot of our programs, Ren and our volunteer naturalists stepped up and created virtual discovery stations. And the great thing about these is they're the same content and similar format to our EcoKids Discovery Days, but they're video, so they're captured in video, and they're short little snippets of people talking about the things that they love and know about the most in Bernheim, a huge range of topics. I think we're up to like 40 of them now, something like that. And these are not only a resource for when Bernheim was shut down briefly during COVID, but also something that can be an ongoing resource for getting people excited about learning at Bernheim before they even arrive at the forest. So I think this is a wonderful supplementary resource to make people's visits really come alive. If Amy will shift to the next slide, I think we need to go through 2 to get the video started. This is just one of our volunteer naturalist doing his thing.
Jambalaya, crawfish pie, filet gumbo. Everybody's heard that song, right? Well, there's a reason filet gumbo. Filet is a derivative or is derived from the leaves of the sassafras. Sassafras is a quite, it has many qualities. Whether you get filet as a thickening agent for the ground up leaves for gumbo. There's also a bark on the root that is used for flavoring as root beer. We don't use that quite as much anymore, but a lot of our Native Americans and early settlers use the root bark off the sassafras. Has a great aroma. We don't have ability to smell that, but if you come to our Color Fest some of these days, or when we get back to normal, we'll have some roots for you to smell. That is a root beer aroma, and a lot of people made sassafras tea from that. One of the things, sassafras, and we talked earlier about the spice bush, both of them are host plants for the spice bush swallowtail butterfly. And if you want to plant some native plants in your yard or enjoy beautiful fall colors and have some native plants in your yard for attracting the pollinators, sassafras and spice bush are 2. In fact, in my opinion, one of the most varied leaf colors in the fall is from sassafras, and it'll start really early and have some of the yellows and purples and reds. I mean, it varies, and it's just striking, especially along roadsides, fence lines, and generally, especially sassafras, they will grow in clumps, in groves, because they kind of root sucker. But if you isolate one and let it grow in an ideal location, you can get some quite like a large tree out of that. They can grow up to 40 and 50 feet tall if you put them in the right conditions, especially out in the sun and isolated.
Okay. So that's just one of our virtual discovery stations. And then another thing that we did was we asked our volunteer naturalists to explain a little bit about what nature means to them. And here's a particularly lovely and poignant example.
Hi, my name is Patrice, and I'm one of the volunteer naturalists out here at Bernheim. And I'm just going to share a bit about what nature means to me. And I can do that best by telling you 2 quotes I have above my desk at home. One is a postcard from the Highlands in Scotland, and it's a road. It's actually a real road, but it's just full of sheep moving up the road. And the quote is, "Rush hour in the Highlands." So that's the first thing nature does to me. It slows me down. It gives me an invitation to slow down. Nature isn't in a hurry, and I live in a world where we're always in a hurry. At least I am. If I take that invitation and pay attention, it always leads me to joy and to celebration and to wonder. And that's the second quote. It's that to sing at dawn and to sing at dusk is to bring joy and heal the world. The birds remember what we've forgotten, that the world is meant to be celebrated.
That's lovely. So you can find lots more here, the whole collection. And I'd like to express my gratitude for the generosity of all of our wonderful volunteer naturalists at sharing their knowledge with us, and Ren, for all of your incredible devotion at making this happen. Next slide, please. So let's talk about some of our other programs that have been ongoing and that we have managed to bring back with, of course, good strong protocol and social distancing. Our forest homeschool hikes, which are hugely popular, we're now holding these 4 times a week, plus we've introduced a Friday version. And it's Mr. Dan who's in charge of these, and I'd like for him to say a few words about what a homeschool hike is like.
Wonderful, thanks, Kristin. So our homeschool hikes had been an addition that we made last year. We were getting overwhelmed with requests from school groups saying, we want to come to Bernheim. A lot of them were really excited about seeing the giants. And it reached the point where we actually were so full of traditional public schools and private schools that the homeschoolers were kind of getting left out of the mix. We had all this wonderful nature to connect folks with, but there wasn't time and space to accommodate all of our school groups. So we created the homeschool hikes to be an afternoon experience once a month when we were full of school groups. And then, thanks to the magic of COVID, we suddenly had a lot of space available. So what we realized was, since a lot of folks were schooling at home, everyone would want to be taking advantage of this opportunity. So we opened up homeschool hikes. Instead of doing them once a month, we have 4 homeschool hikes a week, and they have been full from the time that we started them. So there's obviously a demand for this type of time outside, connecting students to nature. And the way the homeschool hikes work is we start off with a lesson, then we head off into the woods to experience activities based on that lesson. Sometimes it's a formal hike with someone in the front blabbing away so that people can learn, but more often than not, it's exploration in small familial groups, going out into the woods, trying to answer questions and ask questions, and really just enjoy the time of being in nature and exploring all of the subjects that we're talking about.
Great, thank you so much, Dan. Next slide. So field trips. This is also extremely popular. In a typical year, our education department welcomes more than 112 groups with about 6,000 area students for field trips. The focus includes ecosystems, plant identification, creek ecology, art and science in nature, sustainable design, and other topics. So these hands-on ecological learning experience offer students lessons that meet STEAM standards in a fun outdoor setting. Maybe Olivia, if she's on, would like to say a few words about field trips and what they mean.
Yeah, so we usually have over 6,000 students come out. This year, we haven't been able to really have any of the schools out since they've been so touch and go, but we have been able to work with some scout groups, which has been a lot of fun. We've had some Girl Scouts come out and do tours of the edible garden or ecosystems hikes, or even a few art hikes. But typically it's wonderful when we get to work with the big groups of schools. We'll have usually 4 different schools come out every single week. I definitely miss working with all of our kids, but we're working currently on refining some of our field trips to make it an even better experience once they can get out here again, hopefully next year. But we're definitely looking forward to being able to open back up to everybody.
Thanks a lot, Olivia. Okay, next slide. Another thing that the team developed when it first started to appear that the world was going to be upside down for a bit were daily giants activities. So the acronym was Getting Into Awesome Nature Time. Dan is our resident acronym expert, so I think we have him to thank for that probably. And it was several weeks last summer when the education team created really fantastic imaginative activities inspired by the giants. And each set of activities was made to suit the personality of each of our three giants, and centered on art, adventure, and awareness, each part of a daily theme. So this was a huge amount of work that the team put into making the giants kind of come alive, even when it wasn't possible to come and visit them in person. And again, just like the virtual discovery stations, this is a resource that I think can linger on and be useful and enjoyed and loved long after the virus has passed. Next. Just to talk about some of our other collaborations. So we have the Bullitt Advanced Math and Science program. Our education team has partnered with Bullitt County High School's Accelerated Math and Science program to provide a STEAM learning laboratory in the outdoors. So students in the program carry out their own individual research projects, which then get showcased for the public at our annual Fee-Fi-Fo Fun Fest. Now, obviously, the festival is not taking place this year, but this learning activity is going on for students who are able to get their own transportation to Bernheim. They're able to carry out their research here, and the ones that aren't are given similar assignments to do at home. So just like with a lot of things, we're finding ways to make it happen in a safe and healthy way. Next. So Restoring Nature's Classroom. This is our partnership with fourth graders at Hazelwood Elementary School in Louisville with funding from the Greater Louisville Sierra Club. It's an innovative pilot program that includes multiple field trips to Bernheim during the school year. In between field trips, Bernheim educators make several visits to the classroom for additional instruction. This program is temporarily discontinued due to schools being closed, but we do plan to try to continue as soon as it's safe and possible to do so. Dan or Olivia, do you have anything you want to add to talking about these two programs?
I'll just say Restoring Nature's Classroom came from a partnership with the Sierra Club of Greater Louisville, and it's been an opportunity for us to meet students where they're at, as well as bring them to where we are at. So and for some familiarity to be built between ourselves, the educators, and the students in their comfortable place at their schools. And then that way, when they come out to visit us, they kind of know what they're getting into. They know who the weird people are that are greeting them when they get off of the bus. And since it's a year-long experience, there's a deeper connection built to Bernheim. We do a year-long project of adopting a tree, and the students get to spend time with their adopted tree every time they come out to Bernheim. And the last time they go see the trees, there's a lot of emotion. They're really excited and really sad to say goodbye to them. And it's kind of inspiring to watch that connection that's built from these kids from, you know, the southeast side of Louisville and coming down to Bernheim, making those great connections.
Thank you. Okay, next. All right, so we started a really exciting new partnership this past summer. We're working with Youth Build Louisville, and Youth Build Louisville is actually part of a global network that offers vocational opportunities for underserved youth, particularly in the horticulture fields. And we're working with two different groups at Youth Build. One is called Urban Conservation Corps, and one is called Summer Works. So we had both groups here last summer for several weeks. We presented an interdisciplinary, hands-on learning and work program for them, where they collaborated with our colleagues in the edible garden, in the natural areas, so working on trail maintenance, identifying invasive plants, harvesting from the edible garden and processing it in our kitchen for preservation, since our cafe is not currently open. And we have a group here now that's going to be here for the next few weeks. We expect to welcome groups back in the spring and in the summer as well. And this is a really wonderful experience for us because this is an age group, so 18 to 22, that we haven't typically served very much in the past. And we think it's also an opportunity to bring more diversity into the horticultural fields and to really work in a very intense and hands-on way with a really fantastic local organization that does incredible work and that is part of a global network as well. So it truly expands and connects to Bernheim's mission in a really beautiful, perfect way. Next. So Camp Bernheim. Next summer will be if everything goes according to plan, the launch of our first own camp. It's going to be 6 really incredible 1-week sessions of nature-based camping. So involving kayaking, probably fishing, all sorts of things led by our own educators. And we also hope to be able to use this camp as an experience that gets kids excited in becoming junior naturalist explorers, which is a completely new program being launched in the fall as well. And both of these programs are under the guidance of Olivia. So I'd like for her to say a few words about what excites her about Camp Bernheim and junior naturalist explorers.
Yeah, so with Camp Bernheim, we are looking to create a really immersive experience in nature. Very often we just get students or groups out for just an hour or 2 at a time. So being able to have kids for an entire week will be just amazing. So we want to get them diving deep into nature and be inspired to come back and learn more on their own with their families. By the end of the week, we saw this with the YMCA camp that took place here at Bernheim. By the end of the week, these kids will feel like they own the place, and rightfully so. They'll have explored its mysteries, have hiked all around the forest and the prairie and the arboretum, and they will feel a really strong connection with Bernheim as a place. So like Kristin said, we're going to be offering at least 6 1-week sessions, hoping to get 40 campers each session. It might be 24, depending on how COVID's going at the time. But we'll be reaching over 100 kids through the summer, with each having an entire week here at Bernheim. We'll have activities, like Kristin said, with kayaking and fishing, but we'll also be offering creek walks, hiking, scavenger hunts, hopefully some fort building in the forest. We'll have nature explorations, lessons with the volunteer naturalists on a bunch of different topics. And then we'll have a few more imaginative and kind of creative activities like arts and crafts or different projects. We might do an adopt a tree and just have discussions on the different things we find and see. We'll be doing journaling as well. So they'll be really getting into the forest and experiencing it in a lot of different ways. So we think that by having this camp, we will be laying the groundwork for these children to build those connections with nature, create wonderful memories, and then in turn become environmental stewards to help support Bernheim and the forest and the environment as a whole.
Outstanding, thank you. Next slide, please. So as part of one of Bernheim's 4 big ideas, the actions beyond our borders, we are creating 2 ideas competitions to be launched at the end of this year and early next. And I want to talk about the first one a little bit. It's called Students with Ideas for Transformation. And this is aimed at Nelson and Bullitt County high school students. What we're asking them to do is come up with a concept for how they can improve a specific problem in their environment, how they can find solutions. And we're asking them to come up with solutions that are either systems-based or policy-based or anything else that they can come up with, technology, whatever. It's quite open. But this, we're hoping, is going to generate a lot of exciting ideas and that we'll be able to share with maybe people who have the power to actually realize them. So we think this is a great way to unleash some of the thoughtful, scientific, and technical potential among students in Nelson and Bullitt counties. Next. And then our other ideas competition is called Outschooled. And we believe that one of the great lessons of this crazy time that we're living in is that one day we're going to have a workable vaccine. As a matter of fact, it looks like we're quite close to that right now, but there's never going to be a vaccine for nature deficit disorder, for kids spending too much time inside. So we're creating an ideas competition for people to design an affordable, realizable prototype for an outdoor classroom. And that's going to be launching pretty soon. So anybody who's interested in either of these 2 competitions should just contact us and we'll be happy to give you more information. We're also going to have information up on our website soon. And keep an eye on our website because our communications team has done an absolutely incredible job at creating an educational hub for us so that we, for the first time, have all of our programs in one place. So it's easy one-stop shopping for how and what you can learn at Bernheim. Next. So we have a lot of other things going on. We don't really have the time here to name everything, and there's a lot of things that are just at kind of the beginning of being in the works. So for instance, we're working with Families for Effective Autism Treatment to try to get funding to create a sensory garden close to our education center that would be a safe and welcoming space for children and youth with autism spectrum disorder and their families. That's one thing exciting that we've got on the horizon, where we're collaborating with our horticultural department and our fabulous new hort director, Renee Frith. And we're also working on some other things, like Nelson County has got some fantastic initiatives for place-based learning for agriculture and horticulture for their students. And we're hoping to collaborate with them on that and become a fantastic outdoor classroom for those students, and many other things as well. But I'd rather actually take a little bit of time to allow for questions. I hope that you all will join us for the remaining slots in this series. And I think Cadell will talk about this also in her closing words. But next week, we're going to have my fantastic colleague, Jenny Zeller, our curator, talking with Gabriela Boros, who is our current artist in residence, about her Phenomenal Bluegrass Botanicals exhibition, which you can see around Bernheim now. And after that, on December 10th, our director, Dr. Worms, will be talking about Bernheim's Climate Action Committee. And then our final of this great series is going to be Mark Worms again, and our Director of Conservation, Andrew Berry, giving an update on Bernheim's threats from the Algini pipeline and a discussion around that. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for listening, and thank you for being part of Bernheim and our mission of connecting people with nature. And we'd be happy to take questions now.
Kristin, we turned off the video, by the way, but Ann Price Davis was asking who the sassafras naturalist was. So I don't know if you maybe want to talk about Joe, or give Ren the chance to introduce Joe a little. She's shaking her head, so I think it's on you.
Let's give Ren the chance, because I don't know Joe.
Okay.
So, Ren would be able to speak with more depth. I've only met him briefly.
Now, that is Joseph Rogers. He likes to be called Joseph or Joe. He's good with either one, but sometimes he seems like he prefers Joseph. And he's been in our program for, oh my goodness, 8-9 years, I think. And one of the things I know about Joe is that he really, he excels in many things, but trees seem to be his passion. So one of the things that I was really delighted is that he was willing to go on camera, which is something that I don't think has a lot of experience with, but he got very comfortable, especially if I started asking him some questions. And so I think he did like 14, he's not here in this group today, but he did, I believe, 14 discovery stations on trees. And I think he does a terrific job. And yeah, extremely knowledgeable. He also was leading a lot of our first Sunday nature hikes. So just a terrific, kind, decent human being. Again, I'm seeing a lot of those faces right here at on this particular Zoom from our group. And one of the things that I would say is that in addition to doing things like the virtual discovery station, since we couldn't do the in-person stuff, they do a lot of behind the scenes work, taking care of our purple martins, helping with our the little sensory garden, the bees, tons of just organizing, taking care of our libraries, doing inventories. So they've been looking for new ways to get involved and to give back to the program, since they've not been able to be, dealing directly with people face to face so much. So some of them might have some comments to make here in a little bit. So I want to make sure they get a chance to add their 2 cents worth if they so choose.
Hey, Ren, as long as you're here, will you maybe introduce Patrice as well, since she did that other naturalist video, please?
Yes, that's Patrice Beal. She has been in our program now for, I think, 4 years. And she's one of our volunteer naturalist beekeepers. So she is on our bee team that we're formulating to make sure that we're able to keep all of our hives well and happy, and She's also a wonderful storyteller, as you can tell from that great little video. So that's Patrice Beal. And she's not here today, so I can't introduce her personally. But again, I'm seeing at least 10 or 11 of our folks here today. Every single one of them is really a part of building a community of learners and leaders. And that community, that sense of community, is part of what I think is sort of the secret sauce to the program. People taking care of each other. So it's a beautiful thing. And Dick Dennis, I have to say this, happy anniversary to you and Kathy.
Oh, thank you, Ren. Appreciate that.
Thank you so much, Ren.
You're welcome.
So for any other questions, feel free to use the chat feature or unmute yourself and ask it. We do have one question in the chat right now, Kristin. What is one new tool or facility or big ticket item that would best support your work?
Oh, that's a great question. So we have many answers to that. So an outdoor classroom would be fantastic. That's something that we would love to have. So a really well-designed, well-built outdoor learning space, or maybe several, and perhaps that's something that could grow out of this OutSchool program. Then this sensory garden that I mentioned would be a wonderful way for us to connect with a segment of the public that we haven't before, and it would simultaneously serve as kind of an advocacy tool. There's many things, but I would also ask the team what some of the things that they have in mind.
I have to agree with, oh, go for it, Ren.
I think it's a bit like the outdoor classroom. You know, we have those 2 mobile labs, which we have really given a lot. I mean, they're incredibly handy, and they have had a tremendous amount of use in the last 18 years. I think that's about how old those are, almost 20 years. And they're really going to wear out. And one of the things that has been a big drawback on those is that they're really not mobile, in the sense of not being able to safely take them on the highway to schools and settings where we want to bring a little bit of nature awareness close to home. So I think we'll certainly be looking for grants to fund at least one unit that we can actually take on the road and stock it full of adjustable options, flexible options for programming, whether it be at a elementary school or a senior citizen center or something like that. We want it to be flexible and portable, and that's something I'd really love to see. And I'm sure others on the team have things that they're particularly excited about.
I was going to say, I agree with both the mobile labs, but also a covered outdoor space. So an outdoor classroom or a covered pavilion. When we have a group and it's raining and we have to pack 100 kids into the education center, it's kind of total chaos. So being able to have a place where we could teach lessons outdoors, even if it's pouring down rain, would be pretty excellent.
And I think also maybe sports equipment in good quality and significant numbers for use for the camps and other activities, so we can really allow kids to experience kayaking or canoeing on the ponds and the lake, or exploring Bernheim on bicycles, so something like that as well. And if you get enough of those to meet really the quantity of kids that we want to serve, it does run into a significant cost. Thanks for that question. That was a great question. Dan, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
And say we would really benefit from having a world-class outdoor nature-based play space that is, many acres, that has a combination of loose parts that we can, really get children into the nature of play.
I think I know where we can get one.
That and also bathrooms.
Yes.
If we're being completely honest about what facility would help us do our job better.
Yeah. Okay. Do we have any
comment
more questions?
from the peanut gallery is that we'd really like a telescope/observatory.
Yeah.
I figured that was coming from one of our volunteers. Yay. I hope you all had more comments too.
Yeah, and as you come up with things, funding sources would be great as well. Speaking of funding sources, there's Cadell. Okay.
Yeah.
If we don't have any more questions, maybe Cadell, you want to add a few closing comments?
Sure. I do want to ask Kristin, since we have this group and there may be of interest, you might not be far enough along yet, but would you want to mention anything about the wishing tree? Since we have so many
Sure.
wishes.
Yeah, that's a great thing to bring up. So starting December 10th, we're going to have a couple of weeping cherry trees that are going to be marked close to the Sun and Shade Trail, and the Hort Department is taking care of this. And from December 10th until New Year's Eve, you're going to have the opportunity, anybody who wants to can stop by the entry kiosk and pick up a magnolia leaf that's going to have a piece of twine with it, and it's going to have a hole punched in it. And Sharpie, and you should write your heart's desire on that. So what you wish for 2021, and hang that on the tree. And we're hoping by the end to have a pretty substantial number of wishes hanging on the tree. I think we've identified 2, but if those fill up, we've got more. We have no shortage of trees. And we're going to arrange some kind of an event, probably online, where we're going to read those wishes and hope that all of those wishes come true for everyone for a beautiful, healthy, and happy 2021. Thanks for your question. Oh, by the way, it doesn't cost anything.
Well, thank you all very much. Any more questions? I saw a few things pipe up. I don't want to cut us off if we're.
Yeah, so Ren wanted to have the opportunity to introduce some of our outstanding volunteer naturalists. So Ren, I'm going to ask if you would call on them one by one, because I'm afraid if we just allow them to introduce themselves, they're all going to speak at once. So if you would just call on them and let them introduce themselves, that would be great.
Okay. Karen Scout, with the other half of Jim Scout. Got to unmute you, Karen.
Yep, I had to pick up the dropped phone first.
Thank you.
I'm part of a pair, Jim and Karen Scout, and this is our 5th year volunteering. We are both certified interpretive guides. We take care of the purple martins, anything and all things bird and caterpillar are our passions.
Thank you. Leslie.
Hi, I'm Leslie, and I'm retired science/librarian from Jefferson County Public Schools. And as Ren knows, I jump around from one topic to the next because that's how I did education. And so I'm always finding new interest and getting involved in whatever is available.
Thank you, Leslie. How about Bill Napper?
Hi, Ren. Hi, everyone. I'm Bill, and I have a passion for all things nocturnal. So I'm really just amazed at Bernheim, the park after the dark. And so that's my passion, but I love it all. And I can't thank all of my co-naturalists for all the inspiration over the years, and Bernheim's willingness to allow me to access the park after dark. That shows a lot of trust, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Bill. How about Will?
Get unmuted here. Hello, everybody. I'm Will. I'm a naturalist in training. Just been in the program for, I guess, less than a year now, although time seems to be moving differently now than it used to in the past. But really have learned a huge amount being in that program. It's really wonderful for anybody considering it. And in addition to learning for myself, I work at the Sisters of Charity of Nazareth, where I am now. And I think there are a lot of ideas that I can use here. We've been looking at a lot of things here in terms of managing our more wild areas and making the campus here more wildlife friendly, and integrating our activities with the activities of all the other creatures that use this space. So really seeing just some amazing things out at Bernheim that I think, the lessons I've learned there are pretty widely applicable to, those can be exported to who knows where.
Thank you so much, Will. How about Dick Dennis?
Oh, thanks, Ren. My career was in environmental enforcement, where I had to convince juries about the importance of nature. And that's what I love about Bernheim, is getting a chance to work with young people, with old people, with families. And the nice thing about working with the education department is we're trained not to give lectures. We're trained to tell stories. We're trained to interact with people almost like a conversation. So not only do I manage to teach people about nature, I always learn from them too. And there's always so much more that you can do. I'm just so glad to see some of these programs I hadn't heard about yet. So there's going to be more opportunity for the public, and that's great.
Thank you, Dick. Tammy, good to see you since you've moved to Florida. I know we just have a few minutes here, but I'm so glad you're here. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Well, I'm Tammy, and I think I started in the program about 4 years ago, I think. And I have completed the Certified Interpretive Guide. And I am in Florida now, so I'm looking for opportunities here to continue what I was doing there. And of course, anytime I come to visit, if the opportunity presents itself, I would love to be there. I can't really say I had a specific passion, but I just liked everything. And so I always found myself kind of just, telling Ren to just put me where you need me. And so I've learned a lot about a lot of different things. So, but I'm really glad I found the program. It's benefited me a lot.
Thank you, Tammy. Good to see you. How about Tammy Clements?
I'm the other Tammy, and I have enjoyed taking care of the Mason bee houses this year, but for the past 3 years, I've been doing a lot of the night programs with Bill, and so that's been a joy because I really enjoy hiking, and so those usually involve a hike too. So, but I've really learned a lot in this program, and I love sharing it with people, especially if I can get some deaf people to come out, because that's my field of work is working with deaf kids and teaching sign language class. So anytime I can get a deaf person to come out and educate them about the woods, it's a really awesome experience.
Thank you so much, Tammy. I really appreciate that. What about you, Randy? You're muted, Randy.
Okay, I'm not technologically inclined, as one might see here, but I started the program last year, so I'm in my second year, and just absolutely love the program. I am learning so much and being exposed to so much about nature that I really wasn't exposed to growing up in cities. And I love the people that are in the program, the fellow naturalists. It's so much fun being out there. It's such a great group to be with. Everybody is so willing to share information, and I just love the program. Can't get enough of it. So.
Thank you, Randy. And it looks like we've got Jennifer Miller. I don't know if you're still there or not, Jenny. Maybe not.
Hello. There I am.
Okay.
Hanging out with my dog. So I'm Jen Miller. My other half is TJ Warner. He is not with me right now, but we joined the program this past year, so less than a year ago. We've had a ton of fun with it. So I've learned so much, and I continue to learn so much more from all the other naturalists. So I'm really excited to get back to the in-person trainings and can't wait to see what 2021 brings.
Thank you, Jen. And I see Seal is our last of our naturalists that are here. So Seal.
Okay, I'm here. I've been in this program since 2003, and I have seen it evolve to what it is so successful today. I started out with animal science, so I had a whole mixture of different animals on it was on the benches down there, it's down the art barn. And it has now become just mammals because we have so many new naturalists volunteering that I've had to really kind of pinpoint now what I actually talk about. So it's really been a successful program, and I've really enjoyed it. I was in civil engineering and never had children. The only thing I ever taught were computer programs. So I thought this is just my way of keeping my brain active.
We're lucky to have you and all of you wonderful volunteer naturalists. Thanks so much for being here today and for being part of Bernheim. Can't say enough good about you guys. So thank you. Thanks for letting them speak a little bit.
Okay, thank you so much, everyone. It was really lovely to see everyone here, and we're really grateful for all of you all for your time and your efforts and your dedication to what this place is about and what it brings people. And I hope to continue to see you all in our community. And thank you again.
Thank you all. And just a
Cadell,
reminder, For the Planet, Bernheim.org/fortheplanet is where you guys can go to see the calendar of events. So if there's anything that sparked your interest that you might want to tune in for, these programs go until December 17th is the last one. I will, all of them are great, but there are some things bubbling with the Save Bernheim campaign. So I would encourage you to tune in for that, because we're going to need folks to take some action and help us again coming up. So I just wanted to point that one out specifically. But also the campaign runs until December 31st. So spread the word. Amy on our Facebook account, she shares some, some posts about For the Planet for You, doing something as simple as sharing the information about that campaign and these events is very helpful too. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
And please, if there was anybody that you all know who wanted to be here and couldn't, this was recorded, so we can share it later. Thanks.
Good.